Welcome to the ayeQ Answers podcast. This is the podcast where we explore what it really takes to grow B2B companies at scale. I'm your host, Dana Marxer, and founder of ayeQ, and I'm super excited to have Wendy Warner with us today. Wendy, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really
Well, I'm
excited.
super excited for you to share your experience. And we've got a great topic. So I'll just give a little bit of your background for our audience if they don't know who you are. So Wendy brings a unique and powerful perspective in B2B growth. So Wendy started her career by completing a PhD in chemistry. I love this. I love this. This is all around this scientific view of how to grow companies. And I love the technical backgrounds, which makes complete sense to me. Chemistry was too hard for me. I had to go engineering. And
Right.
then PhD in chemistry and went on to build a career leading transformational growth in B2B manufacturing based companies. Over the last 20 years, she's helped scale businesses in nonwovens and packaging through transformations, PE ownership changes, and acquisitions. Along the way, she's developed a framework for growth that PE backed executives and operators will want to hear. And so that is Wendy's background as we embark on our theme of this podcast, which is scaling B2B companies with solution oriented growth. So we're going to focus on this, on your brainchild here, Wendy, your concept of the solution oriented relationship approach, or what you refer to as SORA. And excited to we've had a great conversation on this, and I'm excited for you to share how it creates resiliency, opens new doors, and really builds that enterprise value. So let's go ahead and get started. Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let's talk. You've had such a unique journey. So I was hoping that you could kind of share how you went from this PhD chemist to a transformational growth leader. How did that happen?
Right. No, I'm happy to share that. Thank you. And I think it's a good starting point because it really will lay the foundation to how and why I approach things from a solution orientation as well. I started my career by completing a PhD in chemistry, right, with the intent to be a forensic chemist for the FBI. Yes. When I was young, computers were new and exciting, yet I really didn't like my coding class, Dana. But what I did like was solving problems. I liked and had a knack for communicating information in a clear way, which I thought would be great when testifying in court, which, on these cool TV shows. However, there was a hiring freeze when I graduated, so quickly pivot into applied science in the environmental field, and then into B2B manufacturing, where I spent most of my career primarily in nonwovens and then more recently in packaging. Do you know what nonwovens are?
Well, I do, but I would like for you to explain it. Or
I didn't know what they were either when I first started. They're not woven, right? They're engineered materials for performance. So think about the filters in your house. They're engineered to filter out particulates. Baby wipes are engineered to be soft and clean the baby's butt. Nonwovens are in your Clorox wipes, the headliners of your car. They're essential in our daily lives. So joining PGI Nonwovens early in my career was a really formative time. I
Mhm.
advanced first in technical roles. Makes sense with a PhD background, right? Led a big strategic joint development program for a Fortune 100 company. Great experience. Was eventually promoted to corporate R&D lead, where my role was to extend platform capabilities into other market applications and establish a business integrated stage gate process, which I know you and I are familiar and really enjoy that intersect of technology and business. So that was a great role. During those years, Dana, PGI scaled from a $600 million company to a $2 billion company through two private equity turns and a rebranding before getting acquired by Berry Global. And my real turning point from technical to business was when Blackstone brought, a private equity owner at the time, brought value selling. And I think that was a pivotal time because what I had been naturally doing to earn those promotions was connecting dots between what we wanted to accomplish and the work to be done, aligning stakeholders from shop floor to CEO to drive results. And when Blackstone brought value selling, it gave the whole organization a framework to connect what was happening in the market with the customer pain points and aligning our capabilities and solutions to those to create value for the customer and in turn for ourselves. So that's when I actually, rather than being tapped, I raised my hand and said, I'd like to apply these principles. I want to expand my background. So they created a role for me in product management to integrate a portfolio of products within Wipes, globalize the business, bring together a matrix team. And that led to being tapped for a VP, my first VP role of specialties, responsible for 9 businesses. And I think it's important to note at that time, by then I had 3 children, 4, 4, and 7. So we had a family meeting to talk about what it would be like if mom did this and took this role, but decided it was a great opportunity. And that's when I really started translating my connecting of dots to scale innovations to connecting dots to scale businesses within then Very Global, who had acquired PGI. And I brought that same type of approach to Jacob Holm and more recently into Techniplex.
So as you were chatting, of course, we've chatted before, but I know why we're so aligned in the same tribe here.
Yep.
Um, but there were a couple things that struck me.
Okay.
The one is, when we have, you have a PhD in chemistry, I have a master's in electrical engineering. We don't, early in our careers, we think that's what we're going to do. We're going to use that education and we're going to apply that. Um, and then we get into roles where there is a high strategic focus, right?
Right.
And so I look at some of the most disruptive things that have happened around, that you were talking about how, oh, I saw this value selling, and then I've got, now I've got this other SORA that I'm going to talk to everybody about. It's because we think a certain way. And when you take,
Yes.
I mean, our technical backgrounds, while the disciplines were different, the
Right.
way we think about problem solving is I think what
Right.
allows us to look at these functions and give it a lens that other people haven't. The other people
Right.
who started in those functions, other people who don't have kind of that technical way of problem
Right.
solving.
Right. We first seek to understand
Mhm.
and determine what it is we're trying to do and get all the inputs. And we take those inputs to impact and define a path to make the impact rather than coming in with a playbook per se. Right.
Yeah, I mean, we take those and then we optimize.
Exactly.
Right? It's like that
Mhm.
feedback loop. Okay, we get better, then we get better, then we get better. I mean, that's everything that we've done in, pioneering RevOps automation, right? But the
Exactly.
same thing as what you're seeing in Sora, right? We think about it a certain way, we look at the
Right.
problem, and then we come up with something disruptive because it's a lens that isn't typically in that function. So that really struck me.
Right, right. I absolutely agree. It's putting yourselves in, you're putting yourself in the customer's shoes or in other shoes and looking at it from another person's or the customer's or a stakeholder's perspective.
Hmm.
And I
And
think I learned that even just in negotiating that first joint development program where I led that strategic program, um, we landed that role as a strategic partner by not just because we had the right technology, but because we positioned as the right partner. We
Mhm.
understood their applications, what they were trying to do. We had the right cultural fit.
Mhm.
We really understood what they were trying to do, and we won that partnership position and built a multi-year relationship, made that sticky relationship, secured business, and really de-risked the business at that time.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. The other thing that struck me is that you're a mom of three kids and you're taking on this whole role. That's a different, so that's a different podcast, but I definitely want to have that podcast
Right.
because it is yeah, there's so much, I'm sure that you have friends and stuff that are like, "Oh, well, you can do it all." Well, you really there's a couple caveats there, so let's talk about it. But I'm not going to go into that on this
Okay,
one.
we won't go there today. We'll go there another day.
All right. So I want to start setting you up to give our audience this whole concept of SORA. So, as you look back at all of your experience,
Sure.
what would you say are the top three or four levers that you have found really make the difference in B2B companies?
Right. I've been thinking about this question. You did tell me you were going to ask it in advance, so I had some time. There are three levers that I found at PGI, Jacob Holm, and other organizations are really critical when scaling a business. Three levers and one mindset. The first is the one company mindset, right? Especially when you're integrating companies, Dana, it's really important to unify the employees, unify the organization under one umbrella. At PGI, at one point, we had six, maybe 12 logos, different units of measure. No one felt like they were with the same company. But once we had one logo, one vision, mission, set of behaviors, then you had the foundation for engagement
Hmm.
with one another in that business. The second powerful lever I've seen is setting that strategic compass. So critical, and not just at the top levels of the organization, all the way through from shop floor to the top of the organization. When everyone wakes up every morning understanding where it is you're going and why, they inherently start to focus on what matters most and you gain momentum.
Hmm.
I've seen that multiple times and drove it myself. The third is high performance teams and culture, right? And one of the best tools I've seen is project management and bringing, building high performance teams. And it's also important to have a culture of accountability and transparency. I don't take credit for this one, but I love it and I brought it forward from the Blackstone days. Joel Hackney called it say do. Simple. If you're going to do something and you tell a customer or you tell your boss or your employees that you're going to do something, you do it. And if
Hmm.
something stops you from doing it, then you be transparent about it, raise it up so it could people could rally around and solve it together.
Hmm.
So those three are very critical. And what inherently happens as you do that and you scale an organization is where you start taking a different lens that we were talking about. And I've recently coined SORA. You start taking a solution-oriented relationship approach and start looking, instead of inside your organization and out, you start looking outside in and really understanding what's going on in the market and what your customers need, and then laddering the company and rallying them around them. So when you have an engaged organization headed in the same direction, working together across the functions on what matters most, then you have an environment to scale. And I think that's part of why we also connected too, because that's what some of ayeQ does, right? Is really help with that alignment and taking strategy to execution to scale.
Yeah, and I love that. I was thinking about ayeQ as you were talking because that is such a philosophy of ayeQ is like, look, we all have to have that North Star, right?
Right.
First of all, what are we doing? Right? That's like first
Right.
thing, what are we doing? And so there is that alignment and then the visibility that every participant in that process understands why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
Right? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And the thing that I was laughing about as you were talking is, at this point in ayeQ, I'm, I work in product, because
Right.
that is my passion. Um, and I work with customers, the
Right.
customers,
Right. That intersect. Yes.
yeah, and that are championing, kind of this we've charted this path for RevOps automation, and we're kind of this whole partnership with our customers who are completely jazzed about it.
Right.
But I was on a call with development this morning,
Okay.
uh, and I said we really want this feature, and we have this customer that's one of was really early one of our customers, and they've been with us on this whole journey, and our head of analytics said no.
Was it
And I
not
loved
aligned with
it.
the strategy or?
Yeah, no, we can't do that because we have to do this, because this is what is going to advance our vision for RevOps automation, and it's going to allow us to, have customers on board in 5 to 10 days, right? Full analytics in 5 to 10 days. He said that's the thing. And that is the culture for me
Right.
when I think of high performance teams,
Mm-hmm.
when you have the safety and the commitment,
Right.
curiosity, and all of those things where the head of analytics can call out the CEO and say, no, we're not doing that because this.
Right.
Like, you're right.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
My
So
God.
now I have to go. So for me, I have to go reset an expectation over here. But you are right because you understand our North Star.
Right.
So it was
Exactly. And
just
you're
so.
setting the priorities on what
Yep.
matters most. Yep.
And I loved it, and I love it when people call me out. That's my favorite, and I know that their
Right.
heart is in it.
Right.
So
And that's the type of environment that you want, or
yep,
that we want. Mm-hmm.
yep.
Exactly.
So okay, so we've set this up, and now let's dive into Sora and what is it and why does it matter?
Right. At its core, so SORA stands for Solution Oriented Relationship Approach. And at its core, it's really a mindset. It's a mindset where you approach customers, as you said earlier, from their lens, from a solution oriented perspective, not here's our portfolio of products. What do you want to buy?
Mhm.
Right? At its best, it's enabled by what I call an engine, where you take market insights, customer pain points, and really capture them and translate them into solutions that your customers can access now. They're ready, you're selling them. In the near term, maybe they're coming out of the product pipeline or they're just concepts, right? But you have solutions that you believe will help them short, mid, and longer term. And when you arm the sales team or the customer facing teams, sales, marketing, customer service, with this information, then they can engage with customers from their perspective, and you can engage in different types of conversations. Relationships here, I think it's important to note, has different definitions, right? It can be as structured as a partnership, a joint development agreement that in my past 9 months to put in place. And it can be more of an informal working relationship, but it's really about putting yourself in their shoes, understanding what's important to them. And when you engage on what matters to the customer and the market the most, you inherently have done it and seen it, de-risk the business because you're securing the base, you're improving the value of the organization, of the business, because you're extending share of wallet with existing customers, opening new doors, and really driving a pipeline of growth to enhance overall enterprise value, which typically private equity firms and family-owned organizations particularly value, as well as other types of ownership structures as well.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah, and I think, sorry for recalling, I'm talking about securing the base, Dana, and driving growth, why it's valued to private equity firms. You said something earlier to me in a prior conversation around like predictable revenue streams. And I think that's something where we had in common as well. Yours from the tool perspective, mine from a mindset perspective. So
yeah.
you could talk a little bit to the link there as well.
Yeah, we do on the predictability piece, that is, and we look at PE firms, it's, as an executive team interacting with their PE firm, it's what gives confidence to the board.
Right.
What is that
Yes.
relationship like, and what gives confidence to the board? And I think you take like that is everything about what ayeQ was built to do, was how do we take our financial and strategic objectives and
Right.
define what our performance needs to look like to hit it,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
It's a manufacturing approach.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
okay, what's my design? What's my manufacturing execution process? Now,
Right.
how about my statistical process control, right? Because now I've got the design, and then I know how many reps I need. I know what my investment needs to be. I know what my channels are. I know what my pipeline needs to look like. And then you start running that
Right.
machine, right? And then
Right.
it's like, okay, for the non technical out there, statistical process control is like, okay, you have to stay within these guardrails. And you start getting off, something's going wrong, stop the line, right? And so
Right.
that is from a predictability perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That is where, look, because I can tell you what you need to look like at any given time, if you start to go off, for example, in your stage 2 pipeline, I can say, warning, warning, you're going to miss Q4.
Right.
And the
Right.
best thing you can tell your board, like, don't miss your numbers. But if you're going to miss your numbers, make sure the board knows you knew you were going to.
Right. And you know when you're going to recover. And I think that's one of the learnings I had very early on in my career as well, and is building that cadence of communication and tracking so that there's transparency of where you are, how you're tracking versus objectives, financial milestones, whatever that may be. So the board has that.
Hmm.
They know what level of confidence to have, and you're transparent
Hmm.
with it.
Yep.
Yeah,
So give us some reality checks for our listeners. How give us some kind of real impact examples of
sure.
what you've experienced with Sora.
Right. I picked three. Three come to mind because they're different types. One's more related to de-risking, one share of wallet increase, and one opening new doors. And So we talked a little bit about the de-risking using SORA, solution-oriented approach, to land a joint development agreement with a Fortune 100 company early in my career. What I didn't say is we were losing business at the time. Business was eroding. The technology didn't exist to produce the high barrier nonwoven that was needed for a diaper application. And our customer was out looking for partners to scale a technology from bench to commercial, to improve their product. And through what we talked about earlier, we landed the position of a partnership. It was a multi-year relationship, and ultimately scaled it and launched it in 2 regions, and really de-risk the business at a time where we were going through private equity turns. So that was quite valuable in de-risking the business and building that long-term sticky partnership. As we scaled and acquired multiple companies, CPGs, and I've seen this multiple times, ask, well, what are all the products you have? What are all the capabilities you have? What's the broad range now? You were this size company, now you're this. What do you have? So I found some willing partners, volunteers, really across the full group of acquired companies, to sit down and say together, where's the market going? What do we think the customers need? What are they asking for? And what's our full range of solutions now and in the future? And developed a toolbox and a roadshow to go to existing customers and talk about what their pain points really are. It might not have even been the product. It could have been the supply chain or something that's happening in the future. But by having these discussions with them on the road show, we brainstormed together with the customer and achieved multiple lists of opportunities, which we prioritize together. I think that's key, to work with them to prioritize, so you know what you're doing matters most to them, and increase share of wallet at multiple CPGs, which was great.
Mhm.
What I recently started doing and realizing is that you can use a SORA approach not just to defend and grow existing customers, but to open new doors, to differentiate, rather than, trying to fill capacity by going out and knocking on doors and saying, this is what I have, which works to some extent, right? For the right target customers, see, this is what I have now, but this is what we also have in the future. And here's some concept, get them excited and give them multiple entry points or multiple points to enter a relationship with you. Maybe
Mhm.
it's the near term. Maybe it's they're interested in what you're going to do long term. And once you lock in a position with them, then you can try to open doors downstream or
Mhm.
upstream. But the solution oriented approach really moves you from a transactional selling position to a solution oriented position.
What if so with these strategic partnerships, you have a few things that are, these are the real keys that enable that successful partnership. You've explained some of them and how you go to market together, but how do you make sure that that partnership is a win-win-win?
Right, right. Great question. At a high level, Dana, it starts by having a common vision, right?
Mhm.
And a common view of what success looks like. Because no matter how structured or not it's structured, something inevitably will happen that's outside what you originally contemplated. So you start operating based on the spirit of the agreement or what you set out to do. Or um, when you face a challenge that's so incredibly difficult, when you still have that common vision and you're keeping the eye on the prize, then you have that will in a way to navigate through. So vision and eye on the prize is critical. I call the second integrated plans. I don't know if there's a better name for it, but I call them integrated plans. I've seen too many times in my career where there's a commercial timeline and a technical timeline within your company. They're separate timelines with your partner, but when you can engage with them to develop an integrated timeline of what needs to be accomplished when, and you're sharing it and managing it with transparency, then you have the visibility to know if something's going off track, and you have skin in the game together to make it happen. So I think that's very critical. And then a cadence. I've heard in the past, well, things are going well, we don't need a cadence, right? We don't want the cadence to be only when things aren't going well and you're trying to solve challenges. If you're talking with them on a regular basis, formally or informally, then you have a sticky relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm thinking back to all of the software companies that I've worked with. And, there's a strategic objective of build our partner channel. And then what is the goal? Get this much money through the partner channel.
Okay.
For financial
Right.
goal, you got to sign this many partners and get this much money. And I think I've seen so many partner
Right.
this kind of attempt at partnerships and things fail. And I think there's so much opportunity lost because companies don't approach it the way you just talked about. Um,
And it's challenging. I mean, they're in a strong partnership, a joint development type partnership or a JV. People have concerns over IP risk, uneven value, confidential information, right? There's a lot of reasons why they're difficult, can be difficult. But when you're focused on the problems that you're trying to solve together and you
mhm,
have that common view, then typically you can find a way to structure a relationship in whatever way makes sense. And to your point, there's a lot of lost value by not reaching across the value chain or not reaching even just one up or down the value chain.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to another point. Many of our listeners of this podcast are in PE-backed companies, right?
Right.
High growth B2B companies. So, and there's a lot of pressure in those situations. I mean, what would be kind of your advice as they execute in that type of environment?
Good question. It really goes back to what we talked about earlier around that, one company mindset. Often in PE backed organizations, there have been multiple acquisitions and they're either have been scaling or positioning to scale. So having that one company mindset, with clear vision, mission, behaviors. We had a fun one years ago. It was short, fun story. It was FUFA. Jill brought FUFA. It started out fast, united, focused, and accountable. And then we all realized if you're running fast in the wrong direction, it's not, you're not getting to where you want to go. So we changed it to focused, united, fast, and accountable.
And that acronym, I can think of some other things. So,
Right, right. But it started uniting the company and with the right strategy, with a clear strategy, all rowing in the same direction. I I think it's also important in PE backed and in any organization really is to realize that driving growth doesn't mean you're solely focused on the growth. And I think nowadays in this VUCA world, this world of volatility and uncertainty, that people think we don't have time to focus on growth. We just need to secure the base. Well, in order to grow, you have to secure the base. You have to make sure it's not leaking. So optimizing the base with to expand margins, secure customers, and accelerate the pipeline, I think is very important, particularly in these mid-sized organizations. And then to me, it always comes back to that integrated thinking, really cross-functional collaboration, the right processes and expectations to do that in a culture of collaboration, which I personally enjoy collaborating. So it's always a key for me, but collaboration and accountability is really what enables an organization, particularly PE, but others, to take the strategy to execution and drive results.
Yeah, and to your point, there is to get to a point where you are PE backed is almost impossible, right? To found a company
Right.
and get to that level is so
Right.
difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I I know from experience,
I was going to say,
it's
you
like
talking from experience?
yeah, it's founding a SaaS company who would do such a thing. But it's we're IQ's unusual because most companies are like what you said, it's all about growth, got to get the next customer, got to get the next customer. Just put what's in the product to sell the next customer and then do this and do this. And everybody's wearing 12 hats, right?
Right.
And then you get to this point where it's like, okay, now we have investors. Now there is this level of expectation and we didn't build this with maturity, right?
Right. You have
We
to lay the tracks and drive over them at the same time.
exactly. And so, for when you say don't necessarily only focus on the growth, it's like it's so hard sometimes to sit back and say, okay, our foundation is broken. We can't even see what's working and what's not working until we fix visibility, right? And then we can be strategic in what we're doing because otherwise we will continue down our same path of guesswork.
Right. I was in conversations with essentially a startup recently, and we were talking about a similar topic here, defending the business, really growing, yet how do you build the infrastructure that you need and professionalize to grow and really go from bootstrap to, right? One of the things I've seen done in the past, I've done it, was look at each of the functions, where you are now, what it would take to be best in class in those, and what are some of the steps that you can take, and then
Mhm,
decide, you can't do all of them, right? Which ones matter the most for where you are versus where you need to be in the next 12, 18, 36 months, whatever the
mhm,
timeline is.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
it's a lot of moving
it's
parts.
tough. It
Yeah.
it, it is tough. Um, and of course that's what we love because we get in there and help them out.
Right. Exactly.
So uh Wendy, you
Yes.
are amazing. You
Oh,
have this incredible experience, this incredible background. I love that you're, this thought leader in bringing the using your experience and bringing this transformation to market. Tell us, where do you see your journey going? Where are you going from here?
another very great question. Thank you. Because my experience is quite broad, right? From small organization to multi-billion technical and business leadership and different types of ownership structures. At heart, I'm an integrated thinker and I enjoy collaborating to take strategy to execution. Take in knowledge. You and I talked with the science background. Take
Yes.
insights and information and build teams, build businesses to deliver measurable impact, right? That's the fun part. So I'm drawn to mid-size organizations, mid-size B2B manufacturing organizations like private equity or private backed, where they're really poised to defend their business, grow and transform, and where I can really take this solution-oriented relationship approach to help them scale, right?
Mhm.
Really start taking that outside in approach to scale their business. So
I
that's what
love.
I'm looking to do, really make an impact, right? To grow a business and grow people as we learn different ways to approach the market.
Well, I love that. I mean, I think of, um, we just talked about like, okay, let's find a really hard problem, a really intricate puzzle to solve, right?
Sleep.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you do what you got to do, and I love that about you, that you're a creative thinker too. Um, and I
And I
think,
think one of the things I enjoy is building engagement, right? And I think it comes back to my early days when the lab technician was just as instrumental in delivering this program as the CEO was asking for a report every week on this strategic program with our largest customer. And
Mhm,
I think folks enjoyed understanding, not just doing, but understanding what they were a part of. And so I've
mhm.
carried that forward, and it's fortunate to gain a lot of experiences through scaling, 4xing PGI, able to carry that forward, and would now like a mid-size to bring that to a mid-size organization.
Well, I am excited to hear about what you decide to do as your next step, and excited to have you on in another podcast topic that you promised. And
I did promise. I do what I say I'm going to do.
yeah, yes, yes, and that is key, and the hallmark of a great leader. So Wendy, it's been fantastic having you on the podcast. I know that we could probably keep going for a few hours here, but
Sure.
I think your creativity, your how you synthesize this into Sora is so fascinating to me, and I think it's great. And we will have you back on uh, in the next, as you kind of have this next report in on your journey. I'd love to hear it.
That sounds great. Thank you very much, and happy to talk with anyone about the topic as well. And I promise to be back on your show.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wendy.
All right.
Have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.